Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Eric Dreshfield, and today we're going to talk about the Salesforce job search and how it's different from what you might think of as a typical job search. Go through a little bit of an agenda before we really get started. Do a little bit more of an introduction about myself and about saasguru, the partner that's coordinating and putting on this webinar for us all. And then I'll go through my presentation about the Salesforce job search and hopefully give you all some ideas as to new ways that you can be looking for the next role that you're trying to find. And then we will take a quick look at the saasguru community and the Slack community that they have, and that's available for all of you to participate in. If you're not already there, be certain to join because there's lots of great resources and individuals you can connect with in there as well. So first, a little bit about myself. I have been in the Salesforce ecosystem now for 14 years. I started a community conference and actually started a local user group in my city. Both of those have been running since 2010, 2011, so quite a while now. And so I learned pretty early in my career that the community is a big deal with Salesforce, and it's a great place to find lots of answers to questions you may have and meet a lot of really awesome people. So if you're not already involved with your local community, now's the time. And the one thing that I like that people tend to realize me or recognize me for really is that I'm a connector. And you can see the quote that I have down there. For me, the greatest strengths of the Salesforce ecosystem is the people and the connections that are shared. So keep in mind that as you're moving forward in your own journeys, you never know who you're going to meet. You might run into somebody that turns out to be your next manager or next coworker, or perhaps even someone that might work for you someday. And then also on the screen, you can find all the ways that you can reach me: Twitter, LinkedIn, the Trailblazer community, and my email address, of course, as well. So next, let's do a brief chat here on what saasguru is all about. They have this really great platform that can help you navigate through learning and skilling up and getting prepared to take certifications through their platform and through its community. As you can see on the screen, it's tailored, it's summarized, it's easy to use, it's gamified, so it's exciting and helps you learn and can help you keep you challenged and keep you motivated to gain the knowledge that you want to and help you hopefully get to the roles and the jobs that you're looking for in this ecosystem as you progress through your careers. All right, so now let's talk about the Salesforce job search and why it's different than other job searches. The things that you got to kind of consider about the Salesforce job search. Oops, hang on one second. I think I have an old deck that I'm showing here because there were many more words on the screen that I wanted to see, but we'll just talk through it. So the things you need to consider for your Salesforce job search: what is it that you want to do right now? Where are you today? What is it you're trying to do? What's that first step that you want to take in your job experience and your learning experience? And then what are the things you need to do? What are the certifications or the skills that you need to learn to be able to get there? Are certifications important? Is it a requirement for where you want to go? And then thinking down the line a little further into the future, what do you want to do tomorrow, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And how can everything you're doing today help you get prepared for what your future in the Salesforce ecosystem looks like? Do you need to, can you stay with one company the whole time? Will you have opportunities for advancement and growth, or will you need to be looking at new companies and new places to work in 2 to 5 years as you grow your skills to help yourself continue the growth pattern that you really want to be on? Next up, what exactly does the Salesforce job search look like? Some of the things to think about that you may not normally think about in a job search: who do you want to work with? Is that a specific company? Is that a specific person even? Maybe you ran into somebody at a prior company where you've worked, or through an event that you've attended that you just really clicked with really well, and they provided you with some knowledge and some answers to questions that you had, and what you decided was that you really enjoyed that conversation and you'd love to go work with that individual somehow. Maybe you weren't when maybe you got saw a demo of a product. You went to Dreamforce, for example, or some other conference, and you saw a product demoed that you really fell in love with and you really liked. And you started imagining all these great use cases for that particular product and decided that's a company that I really would love to work for. They've got this awesome product that I think is amazing in the Salesforce world. So you want to do something with that particular product in that company. So you want to go work for them. So think about targeting your approach, maybe not necessarily for just specific positions, but maybe working for or with specific individuals or specific companies. And even if you weren't a customer of that particular product, that particular company, if you're enthusiastic about the product and you see the value in it, that can help guide your career. That's kind of how my career path got started. I saw a demo of a product at Dreamforce. I think it was 2014, and decided I wanted to go work for that company. And about a year and a half later, after several conversations, that's where I ended up. Was in a role at that company, pretty much doing what I told them that I wanted to do, which was product evangelism, helping support that particular product that I really loved when I saw it. And they basically built a career path for me at that particular organization. And through that year and a half conversation before the role got created, I was able to help kind of showcase the value that I thought that I could bring to that organization around that particular product. So as you're thinking about what skills you have to offer, where you're coming from, keep in mind the value that may bring to an organization as well. Even if you're coming brand new to the Salesforce ecosystem right now, and you still have no experience within the Salesforce ecosystem, keep in mind you have transferable skills. You have skills from your prior jobs, from your prior experiences, that can be transferable. Things like the ability to talk to customers and relate to people and understand the problems that they might be having, the issues that they might be describing, even if they're not perhaps using the right words to say, I have a problem with this. If they talk to you about some of the things that they're experiencing, you may be able to figure out what it is that they're really saying and help guide them in the right direction to help solve those issues. One thing, I forgot to mention earlier, feel free to drop questions in the chat box. If you have some questions that come up while we're talking, I'll try to keep an eye on that and respond to those as they come in. Otherwise, we can certainly have some time at the end of the session for some more Q&A as well. Let me think. So thinking about, the job search again, there are certainly places to go, like Indeed, to go look for jobs. You can search for job titles for companies through that, but there is what some people kind of refer to as the hidden job market, where the connections that you have made and the companies that you're familiar with may be a better place to go looking for a specific role, rather than going out to the job sites, to Indeed, or somewhere else. Just go specifically straight to a company's website and see what roles they have posted there. They may have things posted there that are not accessible through the job boards. Also, another way to potentially get some opportunities from organizations is just simply to reach out to people that work there already. Just shoot them a message on LinkedIn. Hey, hey, I'm interested in what your company has to offer. Can you spend a few minutes talking to me about the organization, about your company's products and services, and see if there's something that you can discover through conversations like that around possible opportunities, and showing that kind of initiative to those organizations might cause them to say, hey, this is a person who's really curious, who's really up for learning, who really is excited about what we're doing. Maybe we need to find a home for them. And so that expressing that kind of interest for other people could certainly lead to something further down the road as well. And I mentioned it earlier that the big deal for me within the community is really the people. Um, Keep that in mind as you're going through your own journeys, and maintain those relationships. Um, Two of the roles I've had in this ecosystem in my career so far have been reporting to the same manager. The same person has hired me twice in positions. The first time she actually hired me, um, she hired me into what was a marketing job. And at that point in time, I didn't think I had any marketing experience, but she convinced me otherwise and then gave me a chance to do some work for her in a marketing role. And a few years later, I think it was about 6 years later, she had moved on to a new company and we had kind of lost touch a little bit. And she just randomly sent me a LinkedIn message one day that said, "Hey, Eric, we haven't talked in a while. Here's the company I'm at. Here's what we're all about. Do you happen to know anybody looking for jobs in the marketing field right now?" And at that point in my own career and my own job cycle, I was contemplating a new job, trying to figure out what I wanted to do next and where I wanted to go. So when she said, "Do you know anybody who's interested in a marketing job with our organization?" I raised my hand and kind of said, "Hey, yeah, me. Let's talk some more." Within a couple of weeks, had a lot of conversations with individuals at her organization. And ultimately, they made me a job offer, and I went back to work for that same individual. So the relationships you build and foster over the years can certainly be very valuable to help your career grow. I do see a question in the chat window right now. What's a good script to use to reach out to employees of that company? Should you reach out to recruiters and hiring managers? I would start with the people that maybe you're already connected to, that you know at that company, if you happen to have any of those first level connections within LinkedIn. But if you don't, certainly recruiters and hiring managers, if you can figure out who they are, that would be a good place to go. Recruiters, I think, are a little easier to identify at organizations compared to hiring managers, because you may not know specifically what the roles that they're hiring for at that point in time or who they report to. But a recruiter will certainly help guide the conversation and could direct you to the right people. How do you reach out? What kind of language do you want to use in those messages that you're sending out? Be upfront, be honest, be whoever you are, be uniquely you, and just say, "Hey, I'm looking for new opportunities. I've discovered your company through whatever process it was, and you found some things that were interesting about the product that they have to offer, or the way they deliver services, or maybe it was maybe what you found was something interesting about the company itself and the mission of the organization and some of the things that they do as an organization that are helping other people in the community and in the world." So whatever it was that attracted you to that particular company, that's what you should kind of highlight in the messaging that you're using to reach out to see if you can get some conversations going. Let them know why you're interested, basically, and obviously something probably more than just "I'd like to work there" would help them understand why you're interested and what it is that you're all about, and some of the things that you might be able to bring to the organization. I think that's a really great segue into the next slide as well, because some of the things that I suggest to people, when you're contemplating a job in this ecosystem, when you maybe have a job offer already, or even beforehand, um, some of the things that you need to keep in mind are not just job specific. It's not what's my job title, what's my pay, what am I actually going to be doing on the job every day, but some of the other things that are adjacent to your job are equally as important for some people. Um, who's my manager going to be? Who would I be reporting to? Um, what's their management style? Are they available easily? Are they hands on? Are they hands off? Um, do you want a manager who's going to be right there with you every time you have a question? Do you want a manager who might be um, a little overbearing, and a micromanager, maybe, is how some people would call it? I'm not sure too many people would really enjoy that. So if you can gather some intelligence about who the manager might be, and perhaps learn what their style is through some conversation that might help you understand that. Some of the other less tangible things that might be important to you. What's the company's mission? Are they a nonprofit organization? Do they do things for children, for example, or are they helping homeless individuals, or whatever the mission is? Is it something that really resonates with you? Is it something that you like to support through your own efforts as well? And then what other values does the company express across their website that make sense to you and that are important? Do they walk the talk, if you want to call it that? Do they act like and behave the way that their missions tell you um, that they do? Diversity and inclusion is a big deal within this ecosystem. Is this an organization that practices diversity and inclusion within their staff? Most of the time, if you just go to a company's website, you can see the leaders of the organization, maybe the members of their board, even, and you can get a picture of what the organization looks like through that. LinkedIn is certainly another good place where you can just search for the company and then look at all the individuals who are on LinkedIn that work at that organization or had worked with that company in the past to get a better picture of who they are as a company. Um, do they truly value diversity, and can you tell by who's been working for that organization? Those are some of the additional things that would certainly be value for you, and when you're trying to make your own decisions around, is it a company that you want to work for? Um, do they kind of have the same values and both same beliefs that you do? Um, some of the other things that might be important to you. There's been a lot of talk lately about companies adopting a 4-day work week. Um, is that something that you'd be interested in? Um, Companies today, now that we're kind of past COVID, um, what about the remote opportunities? Can you still work from home, or do you have to be located near a physical office of that company and then go into the office once a week, twice a week, once a month, whatever? Some of the companies seem to be migrating back to requiring some in-office time. Is that even possible for you and your family situation, depending on where you live and where that organization has their offices? Again, it's your job impacts more than just you. It impacts you and your family, so you need to keep them in mind in your process for searching and deciding on what it is you want to do and where that organization might reside. There isn't a Salesforce website of jobs. I guess you're possibly referring to a collection of jobs in the Salesforce ecosystem, rather than specific roles at Salesforce, I'm assuming, for that question. There are a handful of um, individuals and companies out there that try to do some aggregation, if you will, of jobs from all sorts of places to try to create that single source for jobs within the Salesforce ecosystem. Um, but it's definitely that's a difficult task because there are certainly so many roles out there, and the ecosystem is so vast and so wide. So that is not the easiest thing to find. That is true. Melissa just chimed back in. If it's partially remote and you have to go in once a week, would that be considered hybrid? Yeah, I believe that's kind of the definition that most people see now when they talk about a hybrid work environment. Those are the ones I think where they expect you in office a certain amount of time on a regular basis, where the ones that are truly remote, the kind of roles that I have been working for the last 6 or 7 years or so, where you're welcome to come to the office, and occasionally required to come in, but it's more like once a quarter for a few days rather than once a week for a day. Um, and so those roles offer you more flexibility for sure, and there can certainly be some benefit to your family if you don't have to go into the office on a regular basis, unless you happen to be located in the city where the office is, and then that may not be such a bad deal for you. With layoffs, how does a newbie compete with everyone else in the job market? That is a fantastic question, and some of the more senior level people who are back in the job market may be wondering the same thing. How do you make yourself stand out? Um, And for those of you that are new to the ecosystem, that can be a little bit more tricky because you may not have the strong connections in the ecosystem yet. You may have the book smarts, if you will. Maybe you've got a certification or two that because of studying and successfully passing the exams, but you still don't necessarily have the on the job experience, which might be a slight barrier to getting you in. Um, there are programs available similar to the saasguru program that can help you with your skilling up and your knowledge capacity. And there are some programs out there too that will also, if you participate in their endeavors, they will try to help connect you to companies that are hiring, and in particular for those people with very limited experience in the ecosystem. There's internships available at other places as well. Priyanka just shared a great resource um, built by Cassie Supolowski, I believe it is, within the ecosystem, which is a compilation of jobs. And that particular site that she's keeping updated focuses in on the jobs that require little to no experience. So it's ideal for the people newer to the ecosystem. How do you access that hidden job market? Networking on LinkedIn is a great place for that, for sure. That is a good starting point. If you're involved in the Slack channel as well, through saasguru, that's another place where you can potentially learn about some of those. There are other Slack instances available out there for members of the Salesforce community as well. There's one called Ohana Slack that's got around 10,000 members in it, I think, as well. There's always a lot of active conversations and sharing going on in that particular Slack instance. If anybody needs an invite or would like to join that particular Slack community, the Ohana Slack one, just shoot me a message. I'll be happy to help you get connected there. Justin, great call out there. Salesforce Ben has a good job board. If you're not familiar with Salesforce Ben, the website Salesforce, I think it's just salesforceben.com, has done a really amazing job over the years of sharing lots and lots of great information about Salesforce, the company, the platform, the jobs, the people in the ecosystem. They post new blog posts probably multiple times a day. It seems like they have a ton of writers on their staff that are bringing lots of great content forward. And they just recently started a job board, I believe. Look, Justin, maybe you recall. I think it's been within the last 6 to 8 months when they launched that job board. But that is another great resource that other people can go um, to see where there might be some opportunities for them as well. All right, so hopefully now you're seeing my Slack instance here. And right now I'm sitting on the general channel within the saasguru community. But what you can see in here is there are several other channels. There's one here, Salesforce Open Jobs. There are many postings in there where people are posting about particular roles that are available, whether they're hiring for those or whether they're just jobs that they know of that have been posted elsewhere. They're sharing in here. You can see there's a pretty good list right here on this screen of many jobs that 360-degree Cloud is hiring for. One of the other channels that I really want to point out is this Ask for Help channel. It's a great place to go if you have a question on how to do something specific within Salesforce and you're struggling to make it work correctly. Post your question in here, and the gurus and the experts in this channel will certainly jump in and help you solve your problems. And then this Book a Mentor channel here as well. That's your opportunity to try to have a one-on-one conversation with some of the people that are in this community here to bend their ear to help you solve specific challenges, or even just kind of listen to you talk as you're trying to figure out what your career path should look like, what it is you really want to do. There's a lot of great individuals in here to help with that. I see the saasguru team shared a link directly to me out there as well. Feel free to reach out to me through that Slack channel as well. I think I missed a comment or two there, or questions. Here we go. Any tips for resume building for Salesforce admins or Salesforce newbies? Yes, great question there. For what seems to work best from my experience when you're trying to build a resume that attracts some attention is to share statistics about what you did or what you accomplished, or how it saved a company money or time. If you have the ability to figure out what that looks like, um, to share some of those things rather than just a narrative of I did this and I did that. But if you can put some numbers around it, I automated a process that saved four different people 25 minutes a day, or whatever it might be. If you can figure out how to share some statistics around some time savings or dollar savings from some of the work that you've done in the past, that's great. For those of you that are new to the ecosystem and don't really have any Salesforce experience yet, one of the things that I would suggest is for you to think about the work that you've already done prior to coming into Salesforce, but look at it with the Salesforce lens, if you will, what you know about Salesforce today and what you've learned through your studies about the way a Salesforce administrator thinks, perhaps, or a business analyst. Look at your previous work experience and think about what you did. Maybe you were a customer service agent, perhaps at an organization, and your job was to talk to customers, help them solve their problems. But while you were doing that, you were logging your calls in a system of some sort. Perhaps it was Salesforce, perhaps not, since you maybe didn't know that. It was some other CRM system, perhaps. But think about the process you went through, the things that you had to do, what was important from the call that you were talking on, and logging in the system to help you understand um, what really fits together, how everything makes more sense. And think about some of those jobs that you did prior to using Salesforce, and perhaps what you might have changed about how you did your job if Salesforce was available at that organization. Maybe some of the things that you did manually, you could then have automated through using flows, to help your job become more efficient. Let's see, what else do we have there? Paula is mentioning opportunities around entry-level jobs and apprenticeships. That's certainly a way to go, if you can find those. I know some of those other organizations that I mentioned do have some apprenticeship positions, or they may be aware of some. So that is another opportunity, um, to be able to help yourself grow. Let's see, did I miss anything else? Don't think I've missed anything. So going back to the Slack channel, since I still have it up here, one of the other channels I did not particularly point out, but the celebration time um, is a great place to go see everybody's accomplishments and share yours. You can see here someone sharing that that they just passed their certified administrator exam and they're happy about it. Of course, anybody would be happy for passing that exam, right? So sharing everyone's joy, and when you get to that point with yours as well, that would be a great place to share. We do have another question from Melissa. Do we know of any companies that hire people with no experience? Um, Off of the top of my head, I'm not sure that is the right answer for me to give you. There are likely a few out there that will do that will hire with no Salesforce experience. The roles that they might have you start in may not be the role that you're looking for initially, or the role that you really want. Um, the roles that some of those organizations that hire with no experience might be kind of what I call like Salesforce adjacent roles, where you're an end user of Salesforce. Um, but that's valuable experience for you to gain, being that end user of Salesforce. It will certainly get you some hands-on time with the platform, get you a little bit more used to understanding the language that Salesforce talks, what an object is, what a field is, some of those different things that may be second nature to some of the more experienced people. But starting in roles similar that are like that, maybe marketing operations or sales operations, or even a call center agent, as I mentioned earlier, that uses Salesforce. is a great starting point because you're getting hands-on experience with the platform. And through your studies that you've already done or that you're in the middle of doing, some of the things that you might discover while you're on the job in those entry level roles, you might be able to suggest improvements to the organizations on things they could do that would make the role more efficient, that might make data flow through the system better, that might help increase their ability to report on what's actually happening in the particular job that you're doing. So keep an open mind while you're working through some of those jobs. Um, Website. So there are a couple of things actually that I want to share here. First off, this live classes tab. Um, that is probably where you all found this particular class that we're going through right now. But if you look through that, you can see there are a lot of additional upcoming classes through this channel. I have a couple more coming up, continuing the thought process and the conversation around the job search process and the application process. You see, my next one is March 1st, talking about your resume and the job application process. And then down on March 14th, I have one, the interview and beyond, that kind of completes the whole job search cycle and what some of the things you might need to know beyond that as well. Beyond those live classes, the boot camps are great places to go as well, to look for additional knowledge and additional information. And I think the certification prep course that saasguru has right now for the associate certification, they are offering that at no charge. So that would certainly be a great opportunity for anyone who might need some help getting through to the associate certification. It's a great starting point right there. You can see the description here: 8 hours of learning time, 20 study plans, a mock exam, 4 topical tests, and a bunch of flashcards, all built to help you learn and grow and hopefully pass that exam pretty quickly for yourself. Do you know how I can develop a deeper experience in integration? How can we come together to build a scenario for integration experience? Wow, there's a lot in that statement, that's for sure. Um, and integration is certainly very important these days. I think Salesforce really made some great strides towards helping to bring that in over the last several years, especially with their acquisition of the MuleSoft platform. Um, the App Exchange Whisperer uh, just chimed in. Trailhead Playground. That is a great call out there. There are Trailhead opportunities to help work through some of the integration uh, learning skills. Thanks for that shout out to that. That is a tough one because there can be so many variations on that as well. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. There are multiple trains of thought on ways to gain experience. I think the one that I kind of like the most is one that's to think about the things that you do in your daily life. If you have children, for example, how do you manage your children's schedules between their school and all their extracurricular activities or their jobs if they have part-time jobs that they're working? Um, Maybe right now you're just handwriting all that stuff down on a calendar. Build a Salesforce app to track all of that. Anybody can sign up for a free Salesforce developer org, and then you can create all the things you want to within that org. So showcase your hobbies even perhaps through a Salesforce developer org. And then when you're gaining some hands-on experience through what might be 3 things that are similar to practical experience, but then when you do get to the point where you maybe have landed a job interview for a position, you can show off the work that you've done and actually then showcase some of your talents that way by showing the app that you built. Any suggestions for the Salesforce admin exam? study hard. That is an exam that a lot of people struggle with the first time around. I know many people that don't pass the exams on their first try. Don't let that get you down. I think it's great that the exams provide you feedback that show you the areas that you scored really well or the areas that maybe you have some room to grow, and then take that knowledge and the feedback that you've gotten from the first attempt, and focus your studies a little bit more for the second attempt. I mean, I know a lot of people that have not passed on their first attempt, so don't that don't let that stop you from trying to grow and trying to skill up and get to that point. Um, Everybody learns a little bit differently. Maybe hands-on is more what you need. See if you can find someone to help you through some of those struggles. Go to the saasguru channel, as I mentioned, the Slack channels earlier, and seek out a mentor for some of those specific questions and have them see if they can guide you through some of those things. Well, again, thanks everybody for coming.